Recording in progress.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of coding and programming. So in the last video, we talked about something that was called as a front end, and I gave you some insight into what a database is and what a front end was, you see. So we talked about it at this point. This is my front end. And this is my database. And I told you that the front end talks to the database through a method, HTTPS or HTTP. And then you have got the domain name and the port name and other things after that, the path. Okay. So these things were there. This is what we talked about in the last video. And then, I told that, we are dropping the discussion on the backend because, we'll talk about that in the next video. And so today we'll talk about what backend is. We have got the backend over here, right? So let me just clean it a bit, like top, I suppose. Here is the backend. So why do we need a backend? For that, you need to understand something about the database. So as I told you in the last video, that the database is a place where your data is kept, and all the data pertaining to a company are kept on the database. So I cannot allow somebody from the front end side to access everything, because an app cannot actually have everything in one app. You cannot have everything regarding the database, regarding the information in the database. So we need to design an app that only talks to a part of the data. So let's say there is a data in the database that talks about the purchase order details. There's a part in the database that talks about the sales order details. There's a part in the database that talks about the inventory, the customer details, the purchaser details, and whatnot. There are a lot of things in it that is there in the database. And I just don't want this particular person to be flooded with so many data, or I just don't want the person to access, anything that he wants, and how will he even know, how to access these things unless I tell him that the address to this particular thing is this. The address to this particular thing is this. You can reach over here, but where to go, you don't even know because the paths are not mentioned. Okay. So in order to create these paths that could guide you to the exact, place in the database, let me just tell you what a path is. And if you think that I can just, leave the path thing, for a while and just go into it because these things look a bit technical, then you're highly mistaken. In my 5 years of coding experience, what I've understood is that the most important thing that you have to understand is the path. Slash, another slash, another slash. So one to the other. Like, for example, let's again make a shelf over here. So we have got a shelf and there are multiple shelves over there. Multiple, shelves are there in it, in the cupboard. So let's say it's A, it's B, it's C, it's D, it's E. And there are files F1, F2, F3, G1, G2, G3, G4, let's say H1, H2, H3, and so on and so forth over here, and many more over here. So the path actually becomes the address of this whole thing. That is my www dot my host name. So my friend's house. And there is a port over here. So, and then, just leave aside the port over here, because this is the place where you make the entry. So that's the entry point to your thing. So what I'm saying is that there is a door, that's your port, and there's a whole thing that's called as the whole house name, and then there's a door through which you make the entry. That's your port. That's the port, 8080, whatever your port name is there in it. And then through the door, when you enter, you have got the A shelf or the B shelf or the whatever shelf. And after A, I want to go to F1. So you see, this is what the most important thing is. So how will you make it? And this making, because what I'm saying is that to a front end, and let me just, if you have forgotten what front end is, it's sort of a screen that you can see, a screen that you can see through which you can interact directly by writing, things on it, not code, but a screen that's there that has to be designed. The screen, you see, the screen in which I'm working was designed by somebody. He must have designed that the first tab over here should be the home, and the second one should be insert. And what if one presses the insert? What's going to come next in it? There's a drop down over here. So let me just show it to you. If I press insert over here, you see. I'm sorry, there's not a drop down for that. Is there a drop down over here? No, a list comes over here. A better, way of showing things rather than just giving a list of things in a drop down like this. This is how a drop down looks like when you put something like a slide, something like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a list comes. Instead of the list being shown this way, it's shown this way. See the list over here with some icons and things. So you see, it has to be designed by somebody. The end user, what he does, he just clicks on these things. I want to click on home, I can click it, insert design transition. So when I say end user, like end user over here is the person for whom you're making the app. He's the end user of the app. So that end user doesn't care about your backend or database or those things. What he cares about is like, I've got a screen, and on that screen, when I do a submit or a retrieve, a get, I should get the data, or I should, submit the data. This is what he's actually looking for. Here, let's say the transitions, when I put on animations, or let's say on home, you see these things come, but these things are local to the computer because it's a part of the app. You don't have to get it from the database. It's these screens in a layout, and the section, you see there's a sort of a drop down where you have these things in it. So it has to be designed, but then you're not fetching these things from the internet. You're just fetching. It's local to your computer, right? But maybe in a business scenario, when you press an insert over here, let's say there is an insert button over here, it might, when after pressing, it might talk to the database. So somebody sitting on the front end, who's the end user, does not know that the coder has done something and the backend coder has done something, so that both can interact, so that data could be either sent or received from the from the database to the front end. Once he presses this button out here, something came, and let's say these things came. Are these things coming from some kind of a server, or it's local to the computer? In this case, local to the computer. Let's say it's coming from the server. So it has to fetch the data from the server. The code has to be designed in a certain way that besides seeing the screen, those are there, the data, those are coming inside the screen. Let's say a table opens up, and the table consists of lots of data in it, rows and records in it. Record of a customer name, customer address, and many more information, okay, regarding the customer. So if those things come, it has to be stored in the database, not local to the computer, okay? So it goes to the database and get the data. Over here, the end user actually gets a screen. Let me just delete the whole thing so that confusion should not creep in. So there is a screen end user sitting on, and there is a button over here, let's say a press button, and a text is written on it, press, and when he presses it, a table appears. The table is already there, or maybe it can appear. Both things can happen, depends on how you design it. So, and records come over here. Somewhere, the moment the end user press something, a code in the front end, I'm saying front end, runs or talks to the code of the backend. That in turn talks to the code of the database, or rather the database. And then it gives the result, and the result is sent to the screen, to this code, and this code again tells that, okay, I need the data over here. To the point? So this is how the things are working on. So your job could be either of a front-end developer, or a back-end developer, or a database developer. So when I said at the beginning that there are multiple, things inside it, and you just can't actually access anything that you want because you need a particular set of data to be shown that is pertinent to the app. So, this backend will do something so that only this set of data is actually given to you, or you can put more data inside this one. So the backend developers does it. So here he designs everything. So it's like it's not like a screen he's designing. He's designing the data so that it could be sent. And that thing that it designs is called as an API. So that an API is nothing more than something like this. Let me just the path again. The path. So, and when you are into API, many a times you will hear API in a different context that might, give you a different picture of API again. So, for now, just the basic picture of API is the one that I'm telling you, but you might get a different context of API as well. But normally people, when they talk about API, they talk about the path. That is like HTTP protocol. This is something that is to be used. I'm going to say, when I say a protocol, that means there is something on the internet world through which the data transmission or receiving is taking place and has been developed by somebody by saying HTTP and by this kind of a thing. So remember, I say HTTP or whatever doesn't make much of a difference, because then HTTP is defined, so it is defined. If I had designed it something else, the only thing is the energy that flows. It's talking about the energy flowing, from one place to the other, and it's whether it's binary or whether it is hexadecimal or something else. This is what it is: the flowing of energy from one system to the other, and the energy talks to each other. But then the energy is flowing in such a meaningful way that it gives you some result. So that's the bottom line. So when I say HTTP and those kind of things, don't get so bogged down by these kind of things. And then there is the address and those kind of things, and the path I was talking about. The path that is made over here over the HTTP, because the protocol is already there. So somebody said, why can't we use this already used protocol that's already there? Somebody somewhere in the world is using it. Or the 90% of the world is using HTTP protocol. Why can't I use this protocol and start sending the data over here in my own ways possible? Do some additions to HTTP, so that some addition is called as OData. Using OData on HTTP, another way of sending the data using HTTP. This thing is already there. Just a bit of an addition and subtraction on something. I'm not saying I'm not using HTTP. HTTP would be there, but there would be more things over here specific to a special kind of a thing that's coming. And then again, the path. The path I was talking about. So this OData and the path, kind of a thing. So this is how it is maintained. So remember, the path is very, very important. Do not just take it very lightly, okay? Because whenever you struggle for something, just go back to the main idea that what I'm looking for is the data that is stored in the backend, and the backend is good enough to talk to what I'm saying, and that those things are prepared over here. The API, the path is prepared in the backend, and this code over here in the front end can talk to this path. So let's say I write a code. Over here. Let me just show you something. So that you can understand this basic picture of it. So let me come back to a place, and you're fortunate enough that we have a screen where all the three things, nearly all the three things are there. So was it there since the beginning? No, it wasn't there since the beginning. Now technology has changed to the extent that they have brought everything at the same place. So if you want to see the front end is there, you want to see the back end is there, you want to see the database, it's there. And it's called cloud. And the moment I say cloud, don't get again, cloud is something like a cloud, that cloud I'm talking about. Because you know what, I had this picture of like what cloud exactly the cloud grows, but I know somewhere I knew it's not like exactly cloud, but cloud means where rain, rain actually falls down. Not that cloud you're talking about. It's something that somebody in this world said. You have, let's say there's a company A, and it has a big place, a room, where it has got a big computer, and that company A has got big computer, and that is connected to the internet. This big place is connected to the internet, but every of the data is stored over here. All the things are stored over. If anybody wants to talk to this particular place, they can, of course, make a request to this particular place, but all my things are here. So that requires a lot of, a lot of expense. You have to spend a lot of money to actually have big rooms, and that requires, servicing of the whole thing and whatnot, creating a server room and those kind of things for a company A, big task. Maybe today I don't need that much of a space, but still I have installed that much. Like you might have seen when you buy a computer, you go for 1 TB, let's say, memory, although you need 500 MBs. But then, since you're installing, you install 1 TB. So that in future I might use it. And there are more. I need a RAM of, let's say, 10 GB, but then, I install 100 GB RAM. Why? Because maybe in future I might use it. So maybe after 5 years, I might use 100 GB of RAM, but today only I have got it done. So, this is a waste actually. So somewhere somebody thought about it and said, we should actually make something, a big space. So he has made his own big space and said that company A, what amount of space you need. So company A said, I need this much of a space. So he has been allocated this much of a space. The company B says, I need this much of a space. So he's allocating this much of a space to company B. In future, the company says, I need more space. So this person can provide him more space. So these are big giants who have actually made big servers. And that's internet facing. Anybody can have it. So instead of having my own setup, what I said that you give me the platform, you give me the software, give me everything on which I can work. I'm just focused on coding. The rest of the things should be taken care by you. So somebody thought about this kind of a plan and did that. So it works in a very nice way, because whenever I want to escalate, whenever I want to do some changes into my current system, I can do that because it allows me the permission. See, I can increase my data space. from 1 TB to 100 TB, and it will allow me to do that. And I don't even care, how these services are maintained. Now, if you're thinking about, how can you give your data to somebody, your very secret data to somebody whom you don't know. So, but then there are lots of protocols, lots of things. Those are there where a trust relationship is maintained between the company and both the companies. One who is providing the space and one who wants the space. So this is how the picture is going on today. And today we are in this particular area where you have these facilities that's called as a cloud, and your data is secure, not a problem. Okay, so and some years back, we didn't have this facility actually. So here you see, and if you're a first timer, and if you're looking at this particular screen, because when I was a first timer, because I started coding in my 40s, and when I, before that, I really had aversion to this screen. Whenever I saw these kind of things, I was repugnant. I loathed it, and I didn't want to see it because it was so confusing, But it's not that confusing. Let me just tell you, and you will understand why I'm saying that in some days, or maybe in months. You will understand that. So don't be fearful about it. Okay. Now, interestingly, you see there is the one that I'm talking about is the front end. This part that you see over here is the front end, and rest of the things over here is the back end. And the same thing runs. Then a front end tries to talk to the back end, because this back end actually prepares the things for you so that what amount of things you can talk to the database. So it has to prepare something so that the front end can talk to the back end, and vice versa, both going back and coming. So request and response is there. So it prepares it. So here in the same way, although they look in the same screen, but interestingly, they are quite far apart. They're quite far apart. Just because they look in the same screen doesn't mean that they're well connected, but they are well connected. But then you have to make the connectivity. The only thing that's disconnecting them is this address. Another address, that you make, or the same address, I don't care, but there's an address, there's some kind of an HTTP or something like that that's connecting them. So what I do is that I prepared that over here in this, so that, the data could be sent to the, and that's done behind the scenes. You don't have to do a lot of things. If you go into the, this package.json file over here, and if you just scroll down, and so many things, the dependencies and those things are here. Using these kind of dependencies, these OData services are made, and this is how the things are actually gelled with each other, so that this talking could take place, and it gives you a framework to work on. That means a framework. When I say a framework to work on, means a help to work on, because if you were to actually do everything from the scratch, I don't know what the spelling is, what I've written in a proper way. If you were to do everything from scratch, you would have to write a lot of codes for everything. So when certain things which people have seen over the years that it could be done in a certain way, they have minimized your effort. And when they have minimized your effort, and that minimizing of the effort has been done through a framework. Through a framework that does a lot of things for you. You don't have to do, because they have seen that these things are not that important. The important thing is that just make it. You just put your requirement, not like wasting time in. Just suppose that if you were to actually make the code, What if I ask you to first design the whole screen in which you are working right now, and then you put all those configurations inside it, then you finally prepare a screen, and then you start to code? It's useless, you know? That doesn't make sense at all. Using a framework, you can do this kind of a thing. So using a framework, so much of your effort has been minimized by, and these frameworks, inside them run a lot of function, those things that you code, and those repetitive codes, or those are not required because that will only delay your task. So those coding has been done. So in order to get the whole bunch of coding, you call these things. I need a bunch of codings. So just call it and use it. Okay, which is why these dependencies you need so that you can finally create some kind of a thing that has got a HTTP or those kind of a things, and you can talk to the app. So this is the I'm going to delete the drawing over here, and then this is the front end. Let's just a brief look into what it is showing. So you go inside it, so you see I press this app, this thing comes. So there's the father, there's the child, then there are, and now this is the child, and child has got more child, and then you have got lots of children over here, and then this has got children, so this become great grandfather, something like that. Okay, and this has got children, and these two things are brothers. The controller and CSS, these are brothers because they fall under the same category, the web app, and you see. So this is how it is. So if you open each folder, you see a bunch of folders inside it. So, but it is not confusing because it is arrayed. It is put in such a way that things become crystal clear. But for a starter, it might be a lot confusing. Okay, so this is what you see. So if I try to show you, let me just try. If I don't know if it's a working app or not, but because I haven't opened it for a long time, so let's try to check it if it's working. I can show you what exactly is happening over here. Okay. When I want to see what's happening, I just do a CDS run. And when I do a CDS run, there is some problem. We fix those problems. Then I will you see the URL says, you see again, HTTP is there. You see that? I open this HTTP, localhost 4004, and you see this is the app. And this part, what I'm talking about, you see again, didn't I tell you about like the endpoint? So you see, you saw that HTTP was there, and then the port, you see HTTP port 04, and then this and then more things are there. And after that, you have got the OData, V4, C2 stock. You see the path. And then you want to access after this particular thing, you can connect from here to here, here to here. So it's something like a that I told you in the beginning that there is a room just in. I told you about the room. So you have the port when you get inside the room, and then there you have got the shelves over here. So the moment I got inside the room, I want to go to, let's say the second shelf. So consider it to be the second shelf, and the files, or maybe there is the information in it, all the information pertaining to second shelf over here. So this is my first shelf, second shelf, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seven, 8, 9, 10, whatever you want to. So from here, you see that it takes me to the path. It takes me to the path, and before that, HTTP is there. So OData is built on top of HTTP. If you don't know about OData, not to worry, but just think it to be a path that is made in the backend so that you can access these data over here. All right. Now let's see, and then we have got the front end over here. So there is a separate place for the front end. You see, and this front end talks to the things, those are here. So let me just show it to you how it is, but you won't be seeing any data in it. Let me clear the drawing. You see, this is the app. This is how it looks like. And if you were expecting that some kind of a app like an Amazon app will appear, no, it's not like that. It's like a business app where you have, like these fields, or it is trying to fetch. See, this thing is trying to fetch data. Cancel it, and again over here is trying to fetch data, and there is no data in the database right now. And right away put data over here in the database and show the data, but I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, so and then you have the once you fetch the data, you can look your data in the screen over here. Whatever on what parameters you're trying to fetch the data, like on the parameter of the site. There are so many sites. So this site I want, and this article I want, and show me the data in this table. So I can export, I can create, I can file upload. If I want to, I can press the go button over here. So the moment you do that, the moment you press the go button, or the moment you try to create or press the go button, somewhere this go button knows that I have to make a HTTP call. The code has to be written somewhere for go. And if you want to see, so if this thing, I'm coming back to this point where the code's written. So you see, there has to be a code that should talk about these things. And the codes are written in the controller over here. So if you go into one of the controllers over here, the codes are written. I'm not sure in which controller codes are written, but let me just try it out. See, code. Go over. Just search for it. It's not there. On go or something like a go. Press. I don't see the code written over here, but then it must be somewhere. I need to actually go into the view and check it out. Was the name of that particular thing, but nonetheless, it will take some time for me to actually check out because I haven't visited this app for a long time, so which is why I have to figure out, which place I can see this go button mentioned. So this go button actually is trying to talk to, talk to the backend where it wants to fetch the data. Okay, because when I want to know the site information, where's the site information? It is stored in the database. Where's the article information? It's stored in the database. So every time when you do this thing, and see, when you see this kind of a three blue things, So you saw that what I told you, and that's it for today. And you saw what I was talking about, like the front end. This is how the front end talks to the back end. In the next video, possibly I'll try to give more insight into these things, and then move ahead how we can start and what should be done to start coding, or at a start as a starter. So and what tools you would be needing and how you can install those tools into your computer and learn coding. So one thing on your own that what you can try is that you can install this Visual Studio Code. So uh, as uh, as a starter, and after having installed Visual Studio Code, we can go ahead with it. And if you haven't, then I'll tell you what to do about that. Okay. Thanks for watching the video.